Anti-coup protesters in Myanmar are taking on the military using garbage. Well, this new strategy involves blocking streets with piles of rubbish. The garbage strike is the latest move by demonstrators to protest the killing of civilians. At the same time, workers at military-owned factories have also joined a civil disobedience movement. And armed ethnic militia are also warning the military to stop killing protesters.
The civilian death toll in Myanmar has crossed 510, and with security forces now reportedly firing heavier caliber weapons, that number is expected to become much higher. But that hasn't kept protesters off the streets, and they're hoping to gain the support of armed ethnic militia to oust the military and return civilian rule to the country. Several armed groups, including the Arakan Army, have already threatened retaliation.
ถ้าเขามีอุดมการณ์ปกป้องประชาชนของเขามีอุดมการณ์ปกป้องประเทศของเขาเขาน่าจะดูเฉยๆไม่ได้แล้วยังไงก็กลุ่มชาติพันธุ์เราทุกกลุ่มศัตรูเป็นคนเดียวกันเราก็ต้องมาร่วมกัน
If that happens, experts say the situation could turn into a civil war. As bloodshed continues, more people are attempting to flee the country. This is Salween River, bordering Thailand and Myanmar. It's where some ethnic Korean villagers are crossing into Thailand. About 3,000 people are estimated to have crossed the border following airstrikes in Karen State this past weekend.
Refugees are also trying to cross into India, where there is some confusion over government policy. Neha Punya joins us live now from New Delhi. Neha, how many refugees have already entered the country, and how many more will India accept?
Well, Don, India shares about a 1,600-kilometre, mostly porous border with Myanmar across 4 northeastern states. About 500 kilometres of this is with the state of Mizoram, where we've seen the maximum influx of refugees from Myanmar. In the last few weeks, estimates suggest there were about 400 Burmese nationals who had fled into India. But latest government data shows that there could be anywhere between 700 to 1,000 Burmese refugees in the country already. It's tough to get an exact number there because of how porous the border is. Initially, most of the people who were fleeing the country were Burmese policemen who had told local media that they had fled after defying the military's orders to face off with civilians. Since then, though, officials say that most of those who've entered India are civilians who are trying to leave the unrest and the violence behind. The state of Mizoram, like I said, has received the maximum number of refugees. It says it will defy the central government's orders to deport refugees who are already in the country, saying that anyone from Myanmar who needs food and shelter in the days and weeks ahead is welcome. Everyone who's already there is living in makeshift shelters and camps, and which is why we're expecting, because of the government's open position in Mizoram specifically, that these numbers will go up in the days ahead. And those refugees already in the country, they're praying that India changes its position on deporting Burmese refugees, saying that if that happens, they're certain they will face execution.
So these refugees, they need food and water, but what is India willing to do for them?
Part of the reason for the confusion that you alluded to before was because different states have been handling this differently. Like I said, Mizoram says that it's going to continue to welcome Burmese refugees who are coming into the country. It's also written to Prime Minister Modi's government, urging his government to set up designated refugee camps along the border with Myanmar to ensure that these people get the medical attention and care that they need immediately. You had, however, the state of Manipur, which also shares a border with Myanmar, issuing a circular last week urging all civil society organizations and officials to turn refugees away politely, saying that no food and shelter should be given to them, also saying that that in case there's any kind of grievous injury, they can then be given medical attention. Now, this particular circular saw a lot of backlash online from several Indian citizens as well as diplomats, and it's now been withdrawn. But the Indian government's position is still the same, that anyone who's entering the country illegally from Myanmar should be stopped and should be eventually deported if they manage to enter the country. Security at the borders between India and Myanmar has also been gradually stepped up. But India's position on this issue has come into a lot of criticism. On Saturday, India was one of 8 nations to attend the annual military parade in Myanmar, including with representation from China and Russia. Now, many opposition parties in India have criticized that, saying that this could be seen as a tacit endorsement of violence that's unfolding in Myanmar, and India should take a stand as far as this is concerned. But India has been silent on this front. It's not criticized Myanmar's military yet, but has said that the restoration of democratic order is important for all stakeholders in the country.
Neha, thank you very much for that update.